Genuine curiosity before the pitch. Everyone thinks networking is about selling yourself well. The elite's first rule is the exact opposite. At high-level events, conferences, closed-door dinners, members-only lounges, the pattern that separates who gets remembered from who gets forgotten is not the most polished pitch. It is the best question. You open the conversation by asking what the other person is building right now, which challenge is exciting them, how they got to where they are. You talk less. You really listen. You follow up based on what they just handed you. Technically, these are open-ended questions. What's the most exciting thing about what you're working on right now? And then real silence after that.
Giving value before asking for anything. The most repeated rule in modern networking has a simple name: give before you take. It shows up in business books in the 90s, solidifies with LinkedIn in the 2010s, and by 2025, it has become a mantra in any serious conversation about building a network. The thesis is straightforward. The person who opens a conversation asking for a favor is forgotten. The one who shows up offering something is the name worth keeping close within. In practice, it is not generic flattery, it is surgical service. Suggesting a specific introduction, sending an article that solves exactly the problem the person mentioned last week, sharing a supplier, a contact, an insight no one else thought to offer. The more specific the gesture, the more sophisticated your read of the other person's reality. What superconnectors report consistently, the biggest opportunities they received rarely came from people who asked them for things. They came from the ones who insisted on helping without charging an immediate return. You become the person who solves things, not the one who always shows up with an outstretched hand. In a whole market starving for attention, the real luxury is being remembered as the only one who made other people's lives lighter before asking for anything in return.
Treating follow-up as an art and cultivating weak ties. In 1973, an American sociologist named Mark Granovetter published a paper that became a mental cornerstone for executives and entrepreneurs worldwide. The title: The Strength of Weak Ties. The counterintuitive thesis: it is not your close friends who generate the most opportunities. It is your casual acquaintances. That guy you spoke to twice at a conference. The woman you met at a dinner 8 months ago. Weak ties expose you to worlds your strong ties will never reach, because your close friends, in general, already know the same people you do. The elite understands follow-up as long-term social engineering. 2 technical disciplines: record who you met, quick notes after the event, never during, and send small maintenance messages spaced out over time. An article that reminded you of the conversation, a congratulations for something you saw in their feed. How did that project you mentioned turn out? It is not spam. It is a light, sincere, well-spaced ping. The result is a sense of echoes of your name in places where you are not physically present. It is a constellation. You turn on small lights over the years, and when you least expect it, a distant star sends a beam back in the form of a concrete opportunity.
Becoming a bridge, the superconnector rule. In every city, there is a very small minority of people who seem to know everyone. It is not a coincidence. It is not just natural charisma. It is a specific mental habit. The superconnector does not play for themselves. They play for the network. In every conversation, they listen for interests, map needs, and immediately think about who should be connected to whom. When someone says, "I'm struggling with this challenge," they scan their internal map of contacts and offer a warm introduction, not a random business card, a connection with a high probability of creating value for both sides.
Technically, it is generosity with focus, the difference between tossing contacts into the air and designing encounters that actually make sense. The curiosity superconnectors themselves share. The return rarely comes directly from the people they help. It comes from the accumulated reputation of being the person who brings the right people together. That asset is invisible in the short term and almost indestructible in the long term. Being close to someone like that feels like being in flow. Names, projects, invitations circulating. The sense that something important can always happen at that table. They are less of a protagonist and more of a router. But without them, many major opportunities would never leave the drawing.
Discrete masterminds, small, high-pressure societies. In the 1920s, an American author named Napoleon Hill put an idea on paper that decades later became a silent habit of the global elite. He called it a mastermind alliance, small groups of people meeting regularly to share goals, challenges, and solutions, lending each other intelligence and pressure. The modern habit recreates this in closed-door dinners, monthly calls, and discreet retreats. 5 to 10 peers at a similar level, real numbers on the table, real problems, backstage with no masks. The rules are simple and strict. Absolute confidentiality, brutal honesty, and a commitment to charging for action at the next meeting. No posturing, a lot of strategic vulnerability. What the average public does not see, many moves that later show up in the media, funding rounds, mergers, career changes, high-risk launches, first appear as conversations in these circles. Not at big conferences, not at open events, at a small table, behind a closed door, among people who really hold each other accountable. Behind the image of the solitary genius, there is almost always a small war council, people who meet in silence to sharpen the next.
Designing a 3-layer network. The most invisible rule of elite networking was described by Professor Herminia Ibarra from INSEAD in an article published in Harvard Business Review in 2007. She found that effective leaders maintain 3 types of networks simultaneously, and that most people spend their whole lives investing in only one of them. The operational network, the people who help you get the work done today, colleagues, direct partners, suppliers, the network almost everyone has. The personal network, the people who protect your sanity and give you honest advice, mentors, friends who know you outside your job title. And the strategic network, the people who help you see the future and create opportunities beyond what you already are. People outside your industry, outside your bubble, outside your current level. Research shows that professionals who stay trapped in the operational network, only immediate co-workers, are exactly the ones who stall on promotions and bold transitions, not for lack of talent, for lack of architecture. The elite habit is to design this consciously, knowing who is in each layer, mapping the gaps, deciding which environments to frequent to fill them, conferences, clubs, thematic groups, dinners, boards. A well-built 3-layer network feels like a system of shock absorbers. There is always someone to support you, someone to execute, someone to pull you to the next level. The real rule of elite networking is not a catchphrase. It is an entire architecture designed with the same attention you would give to an ultra-high-level investment portfolio.